And welcome back, everybody. Hello again. New faces on the screen. I hope I didn't scare you just now. We are so happy to see you, though. And how are you doing? So we are going to start with the masterclass in just a second. And while, you're stretching and you're getting ready and all of those beautiful things, please let us know what you feel about our poll question there. So what's good leadership to you? Please let us know while you're getting ready and you're getting your water and you're stretching a little bit. What's good leadership to you? Andrew, what is good leadership to you? I bet you didn't see that coming, that I was going to ask you that question.
I definitely didn't. And I also put my answer in the poll.
Okay.
So it's going to seem like but I put in honesty.
Okay. You put in honesty. What's good leadership to me? I think to me it would also be honesty, what you said, and reliability. I think reliability is very important.
That's a good one. I'm liking balanced, we're seeing here, which is very nice. Like taking all the aspects that you need to be a leader and having them balanced, because there's a lot of different things. So
that's true.
That's pretty cool.
It's quite tricky to be a leader these days. There are a lot of expectations. Good communication is also there. Transparency. Love it. Human first. Ooh, we're talking a lot about human first today. Very good.
Okay, good communication, very important, especially if it's a remote job and your leader is only seeing you on virtual calls, things like that.
Absolutely.
Good to have the communication.
Yeah. We feel you there because we are both 100% remote, and we are really relying on good communication and transparency over here. I like humility.
Exactly. We got a pretty
Cool. Well, with that, it's time to officially get started.
Trust is popping up.
Oh yeah, trust. I'm sorry. I clicked that away. But thank you so much. So where are we? Well, we are at the beginning of this masterclass, and who's with you in the house today? That would be us. First of all, my wonderful colleague straight from Ireland. Here is Andrew. Are you going to say
hello,
something?
Everyone? Well, yeah, I will. Some of you might have seen me singing some little songs at the start, and now I'm back. So excited to be here for the masterclass. Thanks, Sabine.
Thank you. Unfortunately, without the guitar, but there's always a next time. And myself, my name is Sabina. I'm chiming in from Germany today, and we will be your hosts for this masterclass. So how can you join the discussion online precisely as you joined it before? And you can let us know what you are hoping to learn today. So what are you hoping to learn today? What are your expectations when you hopefully saw the title, How to Build Trust and Create Transparency in Your Team with Slido? What are you hoping that we'll cover today? Let us know so we can try to make this session more relevant to you.
That's a challenge for us.
Mm-hmm.
We can do that using Slido in meetings.
Absolutely. That's the main point. I love it.
Spot on so far.
Did somebody sneak into our presentation? And okay, let's see what the others want.
Just to make our lives easier, they're just saying, all we need you to do is show us how to use Slido in a couple of meetings. Job done.
What are you hoping to learn today? Growth. I hope you will learn something that will help you grow and evolve a little bit, if that's what you're looking for. Effective communication, definitely. We have examples for that. Ooh, they're in the lead now. Good for us.
People are agreeing with each other. That's always nice. Building on trust between leadership and the rest of the team. Yeah, definitely something that you can use Slido with, and a couple of techniques that we can show you.
How to increase engagement, navigating work with lack of trust of leadership. This one is tricky. I'm not sure if we can cover this one in our Slido Masterclass, but we might have some techniques that could be useful. More engagement.
That's a classic for Slido. It always brings the engagement.
Absolutely. All right, I think we're good to go. Thank you guys so much for sharing. So we are indeed going to talk about how to use Slido to build, to help your team to grow together. And that sort of also helps to build community. We do want you to engage your audiences and to encourage buy-in. So we do have a few techniques for that. Let's have a look at what we will be focusing on today. So by the end of this session, if everything goes well, you will learn how to build trust in meetings, and you will receive from us some best practices for using polls and Q&A in your meetings. And lastly, we will see Andrew again for showing us how to set up Slido from scratch and showing us in a little demo a few behind the scenes tricks in Slido. So we will see you later. Thank you so much. And with that, I hope you guys are all ready to start. This is it. This is our masterclass. So if you have followed the event from the start, you may remember the stat from Neil, our keynote speaker. 73% of meeting attendees would not recommend their organizations as a workplace with great meetings. That is sad. It is such a sad, horrendous number. But what does it have to do with trust? Does it have anything to do with trust? Let's see. Something that was also mentioned in the keynote is that meetings are often the place where leaders actually get to set the tone and lead, which makes them powerful tools. And in fact, also the greatest transmitters of trust at work, because that's where people see you and they hear you and they feel you in a way. So what can we do about those bad meetings then? And the 73% of employees who experience them, well, we can take a lesson from Freddie Mercury over here, and we can break free from this chain that Neil also mentioned. It's time to break the chain. We focus on meetings and we break the chain. We know that when meetings and comms are done really well, you can go from basic, simple interactions to creating real cultures of transparency and trust. And you can see that beautifully depicted on the right side of the screen in the Slido iceberg. That's our model for going from interactions to trust. So we are hosting this event for you today because we know that you'll be able to create this impact in your recurring meetings by engaging regularly and intentionally. If you can be consistent and build that muscle, you'll be able to go from those interactions at the top of the Slido iceberg to trust below the waterline. So that's our goal for today. We want to take you there. But how does it actually work? We know the importance of things like diversity and inclusion and trust, of course, and focusing on people. But how do you make that part of your daily reality? It might seem a bit elusive and it might seem a bit like magic, but it doesn't have to be. In this section now, we will look at how great meeting hosts build trust in their meetings, and we will give you actionable tips for your own. So let's dive in. All right. Great meeting hosts. There is a key distinction between regular meeting hosts and great meeting hosts. And that is that great meeting hosts focus on their meeting preparation. They are aware that different people have different needs for communication, and they do not assume that people will speak up naturally, especially not in remote or hybrid environments. That's the word. So they make a point of preparing and facilitating those interactions. And when you're preparing a meeting, we have 3 questions for you that may be helpful. So first one, how can you create a safe space and welcome contributions? That's a very important thing to start with when you think about designing your meeting ahead of time. Secondly, how can you give everyone a voice, whether they are shy or vocal, so that voices don't cancel each other out? And lastly, how can you include people in the processes that are usually happening in meetings? For example, decision-making or feedback processes. So, sounds like a big job, maybe, but honestly, you'll get the hang of it soon. Let us show you now how leaders like to use polls and Q&A in their meetings so you can get inspired. So first of all, we start with a classic, the icebreaker. Every meeting is a good opportunity for that quick digital water cooler moment that Neil and Joe were talking about at the beginning, I think, of the keynote. So to bring people together and to find common ground, because we tend to like people more when we get to know them a bit better. All right, fun questions like this one, for example, as a child, what did you want to be? This is a Slido word cloud. Fun questions like this one can help you to build trust a little bit in the beginning, and you can introduce Slido for your meeting as well. And of course, you can do that for absolutely every meeting at the start. Now, when you have the conversation rolling, what do you do then? How can you make sure that you have a great conversation, even if it's with a bigger group or in a remote or hybrid setting? This example uses an open text poll to lower the stakes to engage, because Slido polls are usually anonymous, and that helps to foster inclusivity and transparency. In a poll like this, every opinion is equal, and everyone can share their ideas, thoughts, or even concerns in a safe way. Here, for example, this is about a brainstorming, and they are asking what types of content the team would like to see in order to sort of give their content marketing a boost. So that's a way of getting that feedback in from your team. And then when you have all of those things, what happens very often is you've collected those ideas and you would like to create the action steps, but there are long discussions with a few vocal colleagues in the lead and everybody else is just getting lost. And what if you could cut these discussions and you could make the process more democratic? Well, that is what this poll is for. It's a multiple choice poll, and with the options that need the decision, you can just put them to a vote. Everybody has one vote, and that's how it's done. Fast, easy, and democratic, super transparent as well. And you get to that decision so quickly. All right. Now, another classic to finish any meeting. We've just taken you through an entire meeting in polls. That's insane, by the way. So the classic to finish any meeting is a simple feedback survey. Here you can see 2 to 3 questions max, can be something very easy. And this will help you to grow, hopefully, by improving every meeting with the feedback that you're getting. Okay, now, we have covered a few recurring topics of many meetings. Now, let's have a look at Q&A. So what about Q&A? Q&As can either be parts of your meetings or, as we heard from TomTom, depending on what the occasion is, they can be the main event. And we would recommend you to open the Q&A in advance, which allows everyone to post their questions and participate regardless of their location and time zone and whether they can make it to the actual meeting in person or not. And that's even better for you because you'll be able to monitor the incoming questions and maybe even prepare those answers ahead of time. Also, leaders who are open to Q&A, we already heard that from our panelists as well, are perceived as more caring and more willing to act, which also helps to build trust, especially when then also the action happens. That's sort of an important point. Okay. We're already talking about what you need to do to actually build that trust and to model good leadership behavior during a Q&A. So we've heard from many leaders that Q&A sessions can feel quite daunting, and we've collected a few tips for you. First of all, don't avoid the topic, like really don't. What usually happens is that it creates rumors and back talking, and it just makes issues much worse. So instead of avoiding, be proactive about it and create that forum instead. And then how can you best prepare? So as we already mentioned, opening the Q&A in advance gives you a chance to monitor incoming questions and prepare accordingly. And during the Q&A, it is important to try and welcome challenging questions and to see them with empathy. We know that sometimes there can be uncomfortable questions, there can be tough personal moments for everybody who's involved, and it's really hard sometimes. We get that. Trying to view incoming questions with empathy is often helpful because that will support you to be less likely to villainize the other person in your head. right? So try. It's really hard, but try to see even tough questions with empathy. And lastly, already mentioned as well, it's always okay to not have the perfect answer ready on the spot, because most people also appreciate a well-prepared follow-up message with the actual information than any vague, like, I don't know, I would have to check. Just say that you don't know at the moment, but you'll actually follow up with them. And if you would like to go deeper into the topic of Q&As especially, we recently ran 2 webinars about how to prepare and facilitate great leadership Q&As, and we will link them in today's output. Okay, this concludes our first section about the 3 secrets. This concludes our first section about the secrets and the best practices for how you can use Slido in your meetings. And now we're wondering, how do you feel? How confident do you feel about using Slido in your next meeting? And I think Andrew is slowly coming back to us to join us on the stage.
Coming back just in time to see the wonderful emojis of this Slido poll.
It's so cool that we have the emoji ratings now. I really love them.
Yeah, quite a new feature that we try to use any chance we get. So this might not even be the last time you see the emojis poll today.
Absolutely not. Whew. Okay. So how confident are you feeling about using Slido in your next meeting? And it's completely okay if you've never used Slido before and you're not really familiar other than a participant and you're thinking, oh, no. And it's also completely okay if you're super excited. Then maybe Andrew is going to teach an old fox a few new tricks. Is that how they say it?
Well, here we say an old dog. And
dog.
You can't teach an old dog new tricks, but who knows? Here we go. Yeah, you're worrying me now that I can't teach anything, but I'm sure I've got a few tricks up my sleeve, you know?
I'm pretty sure that you can. Okay. Well, while Andrew is getting ready for the demo, we also need to know from you what use cases you're interested in the most. So we do have a bit of a limited time today, but don't worry. You will actually get examples for all of the use cases from today, because we will make sure that you will receive an output of this masterclass. However, Andrew only has limited time for the live demo right now. And that's why we need to know which use cases are most interesting for you. And we are going to choose the top 2.
That's right. I believe the poll is active. We're going to see the results in a second. Yes. My time is precious. Your time is precious, Sabina, as are our participants. All our time is precious.
Everybody's time is precious. Okay, I think we have a few favorites.
We do, don't we? We've got a few folk here voting. Looks like good old-fashioned feedback is coming out on top.
Yep, feedback and then also running Q&A.
Well, I can do that. I can do any of these things, but particularly those 2. Would I have said that no matter the results? Probably.
Are you prepared to do your thing? Absolutely. Okay, brilliant. I think we're good to go. We have our favorites. So are you ready?
Perfect. Yeah, it looks like they're totally tied at the moment, both with 62%. So I will share my screen and we will look at 2 stalwarts of Slido.
All right. So collecting feedback and running Q&A with Andrew. Here we go.
Thank you, Zamina. Thanks for your wonderful insights. All right. So good, people. We've arrived at our demo. I'm excited to be here and show you how to use Slido, specifically with collecting feedback. So we'll do that first, as that's in our poll section, and we'll show you how you can build that. And then after that, I'm going to look at the Q&A and something that you might not be so familiar with within the Q&A is how you can actually set up your Q&A and share it with your participants in advance. So if you're hosting a conference or even a virtual meeting with your colleagues, you can actually set up the Slido in advance, get that link and send it to everyone on email or whatever way you want to do it. So we're going to show you how to do all of that in the next sort of 10 minutes or so, we should have lots of time, and I'll go nice and slow. But it seems like you're all kind of pros already anyway. So starting on slido.com, of course, you would log in with your credentials, and here I am. I have all my past Slidos that I've created. If you really don't know, then you can create a new Slido from clicking this button up here. But you guys seem to know. You seem to know. We're going to use a Slido that we've already prepared earlier, and it's going to be this one, our test event. I wasn't trusted in the real one, so they're giving me the test duplicate event. So here we are. As you can see, we've set a few things up here in terms of some polls that are in the live poll section. So we're going to stay in here. This first part is on collecting feedback. So one thing you can do is actually build several polls in one, and that's the benefit of a feedback survey. So I'm going to show you quickly how you can do that. So we go to our create poll button here, and down at the bottom, we go past all the different poll types, and we click on survey. That's what it is, our feedback survey. So on the top left corner, you might notice you can give it a title. So we'll keep it simple. We're going to go for feedback survey. And as I said, you can put several different polls within this. So going to the first question or the first poll, you can see that you can actually decide which poll type you want to go for. So multiple choice. And we can ask, which functional team are you part of? CC team, HR team, product team, etc. You get the idea. Then we can add another poll type. So another question here, by clicking this plus button. Good old rating poll. We'll not go for the emojis, even though we love them. But we can just say, how would you rate this meeting? And finally, we'll add another question at the end, which is a classic, the open text. You know it. Any other thoughts or feedback? So there we go. That's our 3 polls within the survey, and they'll all be active at once. You can send the link of the survey to people, or you can activate this within the Slido, within the call, when you're using Slido. And there are other options here that you can decide on. One new feature that we have within the survey is actually the required question, where you can actually toggle this. So we're going to want to know what team people are on, so we'll do that. We want to know how they rate the meeting, so we'll make that a required question, and the last one is fine. So let's just save the poll. And there we go. We can see it's in here. So that's how you can set it up. If you need to edit anything, we have our trusty 3-dot menu right here, where we can edit it. We can duplicate the poll, whatever we want. And this is also where we can get the link to the poll if we want to share it with anyone. Maybe you will activate the survey in your call, but you want to follow up with some people after who maybe haven't given their feedback. You can send them this link directly to the survey. And one last thing I want to showcase within this section of the demo when we're looking at the feedback survey is our templates. So up here is the template button that you can click on. And there's loads of different polls that you can access from here. And looky, there it is, feedback. So clicking on that, you can get any of these. You can see whether it's a survey from that little icon there. So it's going to be similar stuff to what I said, but how useful did you find the meeting? To open text, which was most valuable, and do you have suggestions for improvement? And of course, you can edit this survey, this template, whatever you want. And the templates also save previous polls that you've created. So if you made one in a Slido and you want to use it again, look, there's the one I just made. Beautiful stuff. So that's a quick little insight into our feedback surveys. Moving on to part 2 of the demo, and please post any questions that you have. We'll have time at the end to answer some of them if you have questions regarding the demo or something else you want to see. But the next part we're going to look at is our Q&A. So going over here, you can see the Slido is active. It's all ready to go. We've got it set up. There's only really one main thing we need to set up in the Q&A and decide is whether we want our moderation on or off. Moderation being, if it's off, the questions come in live, everyone sees them immediately, they can upvote them, all that good stuff that Slido provides. If you have the moderation turned on, it means that you can actually approve or dismiss questions. So deciding whether they show live or whether you don't want the participants to see them and you want to dismiss them. So I'll turn on the moderation. There we go. Simple as that. I can actually test this with this participant mode widget on the left-hand side here. If you didn't know about that, it's pretty cool. There's me on the stream. And I can go to my Q&A, type in a question. So there we go. We send that in, get rid of that. And as you can see, we can approve or dismiss. So once I approve that, it goes into this live view. That's where all the participants can see it and they can upvote it or whatever they want to do. Have a good old look at that question. So in terms of actually sharing your Q&A in advance and getting that link, it's pretty simple. You can actually get it from the participant mode because you might have noticed there's the URL there. So you can copy that and send it that way. Or you can go into your settings. And as we have a couple of minutes left in the demo, I'll just show you the Q&A settings. So let's click on here. And here we are, title of the Slido, the event code and everything like that. That's where you get the link. And once you copy that to the clipboard, you'll be able to see it. So let me just go over here. And this is what it would look like. Hey, there's Sabina from a while ago. Nice pose there. And yeah, because we have the stream in this one, it's all set up here. You can just embed a normal video if you want to send a video message and also have people type in their questions to that before a meeting, for example. But that's what it looks like. It brings them to the Slido participant mode. They can put in their questions and you can actually prepare in advance as a meeting host. And then you're actually ready to address those questions live when it gets to the meeting itself. Going back to our settings here, as we wrap everything up, we can go to features to see how we can set up our Q&A. And you can see audience Q&A is the first one. We've got a moderation on. You can decide if you want to use the label feature, which means you can actually categorize the questions. So if it's for certain different people and you want to put their names as labels and attach those to the questions, or for a different department. And of course, as it says here, you can then filter the questions to those label types and kind of organize everything really easily. Something we do at Slido is actually turn on the downvoting. So the questions are really fighting for their lives. You can upvote, but you can also downvote. So they're moving up and down. It's really democratic. And there is the feature by default that the Slido host can reply to any question in writing within the Slido admin here, but you can turn on replies for participants as well. Something we also do in our Slido All Hands to keep everything lively and have everyone chatting within Slido as well. And of course, we usually bump up the max question length to 300. So you can look in your settings, make sure whether you want the moderation on or off, and then get that link to the Slido where the Q&A is, where people can ask their questions in advance. So that's about it for our demo. And I'm going to pass it back to you, Sabina, to share the screen.
Thank you so much. I'm going to share my screen because there is one last thing that you wanted to mention.
That's right. I wanted you to share the screen, but I wanted to mention it. So one thing to remember, well, lots of things to remember, as you can see here, because it's becoming an impressive list. We have our Slido integrations in lots of the tools that you use every day. So you can see here, we would typically use our WebEx integration for the Slido participant mode where people can vote and put in their questions. And we would pair that with our Google Slides integration where you can put the present mode of Slido onto the slides. So you're seeing it on the screen. That's what we're doing on this presentation. Very smooth. We have our Microsoft integrations and the most recent one for Zoom. So it's all happening.
Indeed, it is. So let's see if something else is happening. Let's see if there's a change in confidence. So
I know what it is. It's back to the emojis. I promised you it wasn't the last time you saw them.
Right. And I think so far there is a slight upward trend with the confidence. Let me just check the previous result real quick. Okay, previous result was 3.9, and now we're at a solid 4 point. So I think, Andrew, you did a great job. Oh,
A great job. Thank you. And I'm glad you remembered the number from before, because I definitely didn't.
Well, no, it looks like, oh, wow, 4.2. Look at this. Thank you so much, everybody. But don't worry, you can be honest with us later in the feedback survey, in case you were not now. But yeah, let's move on. And we're already at the end of this session. My God, Mr. Krabs can hardly believe it. So now we're going to have a quick summary of everything that we went through today. And then we're going to look at your questions in the Q&A. So feel free to add more questions in there. I've already seen a few, but we have room for more. Don't worry. Okay, so what to take home if you don't take anything else? Well, first of all, we said it many times today, building trust takes time, and meetings are a fantastic place to start. So if you are at all lost and wondering what to do, then start with your meetings, because 73% of employees are probably not wrong when they say that they wouldn't recommend their meetings. And while you're at that, try to be intentional about audience engagement and plan it in advance. Even if you're not using Slido, it is still a good idea to plan audience engagement in advance. I know that many people say, oh, I'm just going to wing it, or oh, it's just going to happen naturally. But I am a trained facilitator, and I still find it hard to just wing interactions. So I would personally not recommend it, but maybe you are much better at this than I am. And lastly, be a role model for great leadership behavior. Do the best that you can and trust that you are indeed doing a good job. All right. So, audience questions. Andrew, are you ready?
I sure am.
Wonderful. Okay, let's see. First question for us. We have a hard time getting people to participate in Slido during meetings, no matter how many times we mentioned the Slido. How do you increase participation? That is such an interesting question. Okay, Andrew, do you have any points from the top of your head for this one?
I'm not sure. It's a tricky one, because without knowing the context and like the size of the meeting, how many people are there, off the top of my head, not really. Mm-hmm. I guess maybe getting some people involved in Slido. I mean, we sometimes would precede questions, for example, in the Q&A. That's the first thing that comes to me. So you can do that even in advance. And then maybe when there's some questions in there, then people will feel like, okay, people are asking questions. Maybe I can let my guard down a bit and, put a question in myself. And also, to add to that, reassuring people that Slido is truly anonymous, because I think some people doubt that. But if they put in a question anonymously, there's truly no way that you or any of us at Slido can see who asked that question or who voted on that poll. So I got something in the end, Sabina. I don't know if you would add anything else there.
Those are pretty good starters. I think I would try to look at it methodically, and I would try to analyze what's going on. So you can check what the tech setup is at the moment. Is it at all difficult to use Slido? Do you have integrations set up? If yes, do you have them set up correctly? Do people really understand how to engage with Slido? Is it easy for them? Then a different way to look at it is, how are your meetings organized and what's the communication culture? If you do not have a culture that really appreciates contribution, it might be very tricky for people. It might feel very weird. It might feel very uncomfortable. I would still go for Slido, but I would try to make it as meaningful as possible. So really, less is more, I think. And I would try to really see what is the best and most valuable way that I can use Slido in my meeting, whether that is for decision making, where people actually don't have to do a lot, right? You just have to listen to them and then collect those action items and then create one multiple choice poll to make a decision. And I think that's pretty easy to understand. And the benefit of that is immediately clear. So I would probably start with finding those helpful use cases and trying to ask easier questions. But if you would like us to talk, like if you would like to talk to us about your use case, we have a wonderful customer support that is available pretty much every weekday at any time, and they'll be happy to go into more detail.
That's true. We've really blown it open, but I love what you said there, Sabina, and I love what you said about, looking at our integrations. Maybe it's just because I'm a practical guy, but just, ensuring that people have an easy way to access Slido. So maybe that's worth exploring. So definitely get in touch with our CC team and we'll see what's right for you. Good call.
Yes. Okay. Can you talk about some of the pros and cons for creating a space? Wow. Somebody here knows about Slido spaces. I love it.
Sure. I can talk a little bit about this.
Yes.
I haven't used spaces too much, but from my understanding, it's good when you are collaborating with the same people quite a lot. So in Slido, you invite guests, you share access with people, whether that's internally within your company or you can share it with other email addresses. But if you're used to collaborating with the same people, like Sabina and I, we work together a lot. We're always sharing Slido events. You can set up a space that both of you have access to. And that means that basically any ones that we create in there, we'll all have the access to it, no matter how many people. It just depends on how many people you've set it up with. So that's definitely a good thing. Mm-hmm. In terms of cons, I'm not sure. Would you have a con for it, Sabina?
I would not have a con. I just have pros because maybe that's also the nature of my job. We collaborate a lot and we prepare Slidos together a lot, but usually in the same and recurring circles. So for that, it makes so much sense to create spaces together so we can have everything neatly organized and it's much easier to find them there. So for me, that's a big pro. I couldn't think of any con, to be fair.
And we are honest. If we don't agree with something, we'll let you know. But there you go.
No one love spaces. The practicality is awesome. Okay. This one is a quick one. So do you have to have a paid account to utilize the feedback survey feature? Correct. You do need to have a paid account to get the survey feature. And that's for any survey. And survey in Slido lingo just stands for a combination of polls that is presented together. So you go through them one by one. You can still ask for feedback, though. You just have the individual polls, unfortunately, and not the polls neatly packaged together, which is not as pretty. I totally understand, but you can still use your basic plan to ask for feedback if you would like to. Okay, Andrew, I know that this is one of your favorites. So when will Slido be available on Mac to embed into PowerPoint?
Yes, very exciting times, as it is going to happen at some point next year. I don't think we're going to get to it by end of December, but we have been working very hard on that for probably over a year, and it's finally possible. We have lots of beta testing, so it is almost there. We're just getting it over the line. So at some point next year, we don't have a concrete date for you just yet, but Mac PowerPoint Slido integration is coming, and it's very good stuff.
It is happening indeed. And another cool thing that I linked as an answer to this question, so you can see it right now still in your participant mode, is we do have a wait list for Slido for Mac. So if you would like to get beta access, you can sign up for that as soon as it's ready. And you will find that on our Slido webpage under the integrations, under the PowerPoint integration. So if you would like to look that up later, feel free to drop by our page. And we have the feedback survey already active. That was our last question. Thank you so much for your time, and congratulations to going the extra mile with your team. I'm sure they'll appreciate it. If you need any more help from us, remember that we do have a Slido customer service that is very happy to help you with whatever you need. We have a community. We do have videos on YouTube. What else? Am I forgetting anything, Andrew? Where can people find us if they need help?
There's loads of stuff. Yeah, community.slido.com is a good place to start for videos, help center, articles, all of that. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you so much. You will receive the output of this session as well in an email, and we'll try to attach the slide deck as well. And good luck with building trust in your organizations and in your teams. Have a nice day.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Bye.